What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Married at First Sight, Season 18, Episode 7, Basement Blues. Speaking of the basement, let's get into Michelle and David. So Pastor Cal and Dr. Pia come over to their apartment to have a little chit chat with them. And as soon as things get started, Michelle talks about the negative, how they're struggling right now. And I was like, this typical Michelle. She wants to always bring up the negative when it comes to David. Now, David, on the other hand, he talks about how he finds her attractive and that she's everything he asked for. She said that she was vague on her physical requirements in her partner, which she wasn't. She was extremely specific. She was as specific as David was. David said that he wanted blonde hair, blue eyes, successful, independent, and that's what he got. She said that she wanted she wanted a light-skinned black man with a beard and tattoos. That's what she got. She was very specific when it came to physical appearance. I don't remember what she said in her requirements for, like, ambition or success or whatever. I don't remember any of that, but I do remember her very clearly saying that she was looking for someone, or that she was attracted to or drawn to light-skinned black men with beards and tattoos. So, but then she keeps talking about how she was vague about that. She never mentions that that's what she was, that's what she asked for. Because even in the after party, when they talk about that, and I think in last night's after party, Keisha Napoleon specifically asked her that. So, what were you looking for? She said that she really didn't have a requirement as far as physical appearance or something to that effect. I don't know why she's like stepping back now um to what she said, and she was very specific and she was very clear, because I do remember that. Unless I'm tripping, I remember her saying that that's what she wanted. So David's living situation comes up again. That's the theme of Michelle and David. So Dr. Pia reminds her that when they had met, when she had talked to Michelle before they had matched her, that Michelle had said that it was okay if they matched her with somebody who was still living at home. She said that she didn't have a problem with that as long as he was working on moving out. Now, David has said that he doesn't plan on living in his parents' basement forever, that he does have a plan to get his own place, that the purpose of him going back home was to save money because he didn't want to waste money on rent. So he basically paints this picture that he does have a plan on moving out. So now it's like, so what are you tripping over, Michelle? When we asked you, what if, we match you with someone that is still living at home, you said that was fine as long as he's working on getting his own place. And David had said that he is working on getting his own place. So it doesn't help that she said that it doesn't really help that he's not, it seems like to her, he's not making any plans on leaving his parents' home. I think David is sort of giving mixed messages on what his plan actually is, because he talks about how he's at home to save money. To save money, I'm assuming to get his own place. But at the same time, he talks about how living at home is great. He loves his family. He wants to be close to his family, and that he came back home by choice. And that if he wanted to, he could live on his own right now, but he's back home by choice. The thing about him living at home, it doesn't really matter if he wants to live at home, if he has to live at home. I don't think that really matters. I think the issue to me is that when you have made that decision that you are looking for a wife and you go on a show to get this wife, I think you would want to put your best foot forward. So if you're working towards a goal of living independently at some point, then why don't you wait until you get to that point? Because if you're looking for a wife and you want to be chosen for this program and you want whoever they match you with to be impressed by you and to like you, why don't you wait until you had attained that goal of living on your own? We're all, working towards something. It's understandable if you're like, you took a step back and you're like, you know what, I'm going to go back home, save my money, stack my money up, and then I'm going to get a really nice place and so on and so forth. Great, but wait until you get to that point before you apply for a show where you're going to be looking for a wife. And on a show like this, not you're exposing yourself to a stranger, and you're also exposing yourself to millions of people. So why didn't he wait until he got to that point where he had his own place? There's nothing wrong with going home to save money. Or if you're going through a financial situation, you lost your job, or whatever, you got to go. There's nothing wrong with that. But he intentionally applied for a show where he was looking for a wife. And I would think that you would want to put your best self forward. So she says that she's not seeing him making any plans on leaving. Whenever she asks him, like, when do you plan on leaving your parents' basement? He gives her vague answers. And she talked about this on the after party as well. She mentioned this when she was on it the first time, not the second time that she was on the first time that she was on the after party. She said that he seemed really vague when it came to specifically, when do you plan on moving out? So that's that. Okay, that's still an issue. That's still something that they're struggling with. And she tells the experts, Dr. Pia and Pastor Cal, she tells them that when she asks him, why are you living at home, or why did you go back home to your parents? His answer to her is, why not? As if, this is something that he's really comfortable in. This is a situation he's really comfortable in, and he likes it, and he may not have any intentions of leaving. Pastor Cal tries to convince Michelle that David's parents are not taking care of him. I don't think that's an issue, or that's the point at all. We get it. You're independent. You make your own money. You have your own entryway. You have your own toilet. You have your own bedroom. We get that part. We get it. But like I said, out of the thousands and thousands of women, I don't think the majority of them would look at David's situation and say, well, this is what I look for in a mate. This is an ideal situation for me when I'm looking for a husband. It's someone like David who's living at home in his parents' basement. Yes, it's its own little domain, his own little corner of the world. No one is running through in and out of his basement. Understood. Clearly understood. But I don't think that the majority of women would look at this and say, yeah, I'm looking for a man who was living in his parents' basement. When you have the option of being with a man who was living in his own house, his own condo, townhome, his own apartment. So it's not even a matter of, but I think with her, she probably thinks that he may have money problems. He's trying to act like, yeah, I choose to live this way. I want to live with my parents because I love my family, and my family are my priority, and I want to be very close to them, physically and emotionally. And I think with her, she thinks that maybe it's just all a lot of BS to cover up the fact that he's got money problems. I think that's what's really bothering her to her core. But of course, if she says that, she's going to look like, a gold digger. She's going to look like someone who's only interested in money. So she keeps that to herself. But I think with her, she's thinking that he's probably living at home because he cannot sustain himself. So she says that she doesn't find it attractive at all. She said that she had really high expectations, and that right now she feels like she was let down, and that she has mentally checked out. And I think that she's also angry with the show. I think she's angry with the show for matching her with David. I think that she's probably like, how could you match someone like me with someone like him? Because Michelle has an issue with being somewhat of an elitist. She is definitely kind of like a snob. She's very condescending, and she really does look down on David. She thinks that she's better than him and that he's not on her level at all, which is horrible. So she probably feels like, how could the experts look at a woman like me and match me with a man like him? So they talk about him smothering her. And what she considers smothering, it's just him looking out for her, him caring about her, him being worried about her. It's not smothering because she doesn't like this guy at all. Everything he does is going to irritate her. The fact that he cares about her and that he shows that he cares about her, that irritates the hell out of her. They talk about so her feelings. So then Dr. Pia tries to like talk about how, well, you're not used to being cared for. You're not used to being someone's priority. You're not used to all of this love and attention. So that's why, you're kind of like recoiling from it. You're running away from it because you're not used to this, because you've had horrible relationships in the past. She doesn't like him. Okay, if this was a man that she was truly attracted to and that she truly liked, she wouldn't mind him checking on her and showing that he cared about her. It wouldn't bother her. She just doesn't like him. So everything he does, the way he breathes, the way he sneezes, the way he blinks his eyes, bothers the hell out of her. So they talk about the different views of success. And of course, to her, success is money, it's material things, being able to travel, having a lot of money in your bank account, being financially secure. He says his idea of success is family and love and having a roof over his head. And having a roof over his head. That's his idea of success. So they have very different views of success. And so when he gave his views of success, talking about the more important things in life, she felt bad that, she equates money with success. She felt bad about that. So the experts want her to set aside her ick and to concentrate on what can definitely work between them. Because she does notice the positive things about David, how he is caring, how he is considerate, among other things. And so they're like, why don't you just concentrate on that? You've chosen to be here. So just try to make the best of it. If it doesn't work out in the end, at least you gave it your best shot. Just try to make the best of the situation instead of choosing to stay, but also choosing to make his life miserable. Try to make the best of it. And if you can't make the best of it, girl, then go home. Then get the hell out of here. Don't nobody here needs you. You're not doing anybody a favor by sticking around. If you really can't handle it, you really can't stand this man and you see no future with him, then just go home. But if you're going to stay, don't make him miserable and don't make everybody else miserable by talking about how miserable you are with him. So they tell her to be vulnerable, to be open, and to focus on the things that works between them and the things that that she likes about him. So after meeting with the experts that particular day, she decided to go home. She didn't even stay the night in their apartment after Dr. P and Pastor Cal left. She went back home to her own apartment. So the next morning, she comes back. She's in much better spirits, and she even tells him that she has a list of things that they could do together. And so it looks like she's really trying to make an effort and she's going to try to turn things around. So they go to her apartment because this is the episode where they go to each other's living spaces to see how the other lives and to grab stuff for their apartment together. So they go to her apartment, and her apartment, it's nothing to write home about. It's neat, it's clean, it's Michelle, whatever. And so she said that she's not going to bring her pets to their shared apartment because she doesn't want to disrupt her pets' lives or whatever by bringing them into her home with David, because she doesn't see this lasting, basically. And she's not she's not committing 100% to this. So what's the point of dragging her pets into this? She said that she didn't like how David called her place simple because he lives in a damn basement. Because she thought he was going to be impressed with her apartment. And he was like, it's you, it's simple, it's cute or whatever. And so she didn't like that. She wanted him to just, I guess fall over by how magnificent the place was. And it's just a regular apartment, girl. It was nothing to write home about. And she was really offended by that. I was like, girl, get over it. Get the hell over it. But in her mind, she's like, you live in a cramped basement. Why are you poo-pooing on my apartment? So then they go to David's basement, to his place where he lives. And so he was really proud to show her that his basement has its own entryway, has its own door. You don't have to go through the main house just to get to the basement. So he was really proud about that. Took out his keys and turned the locks and everything. He was so happy. So they go inside. He gives her like a little mini tour, and it's cramped, it's full of stuff, it's a typical basement, but he does have a separate bedroom. He has like a little kitchenette area. He has his own bathroom. The only thing missing is basically like a living room, and she noted that and she pointed that out. So the only thing that you're missing is a living room. And so he has a washer and dryer. And she asked him, do you share the washer and dryer with your family? And he was like, yes. And so she was like, okay, so the family comes down here to wash their clothes. Okay. Okay. You could tell she wasn't impressed. So then he asked her, so is this what you thought it was going to be? And, he's expecting her to be impressed. He's expecting her to say, you know what, it's better than what I thought. That's what he wanted it to say. But instead, she said, yeah, it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought it was going to be. As in, I was expecting a crap show and I got a crap show. She didn't like it. Nothing about that place impressed her. And so I'm beginning to wonder if they're showing us these scenes out of sequence, out of chronological order, because I'm wondering if they went to his basement first. She was very blasé about it. She didn't like it. She wasn't impressed. And because of her reaction, when they went to her apartment, he said, "Yeah, your place is, it's simple." So I'm thinking if that was his little get back at her for what she said about his apartment. But then they showed it to us as if they went to her apartment first. I'm not saying he should have been impressed by where she lived, but I'm just wondering if he knew by calling her place simple, knowing how she is, because she thinks that she's the queen of the world. Okay, she thinks that, that can't nobody beat her. So I'm wondering if that was a little get back at her for what she said about his basement. I'm just wondering. Then he tries to convince her while they're in the basement. He tries to convince her. He's like, "Isn't this kind of like a little studio apartment? And I just have, my parents as neighbors living upstairs." And she said, "Well, what studio apartment do you know of where your neighbors would come in and use your washer and dryer?" And he was like, "Well, there's all types of different living." David, you live in the basement. It is what it is. Don't try to gussy it up, trying to make it better than what it is. You live in the basement. You want to live there. You choose to live there. You want to be close to your family. You're saving money. Whatever the situation is, it doesn't even matter the reason. This woman is not impressed. She doesn't like it. It's bothering her. She's really struggling with it. Just accept that. Don't try to make, because the more he tries to make it what it isn't, or the more he tries to make it better than what it is, it's almost as if he's admitting that, yeah, this is crappy. This is really crappy, and I know you think it's crappy, but I want to change your mind. Just leave it alone. You live in the basement. You want to. You like it. You're separate and apart from the family home. Leave it at that. Don't say nothing else about it. Don't try to impress her. Don't try to change her mind. Don't try to convince her. It is what it is. It's not going to change. The only thing that can give you any hope with this woman is if you tell her that you moved out and got your own condo or townhouse or whatever. That is the only way that you're going to have any chance of impressing this woman. As long as you live in that basement, it does not matter. I think maybe she would probably deal with it better if you would have said, "I lost my job, ran into some hard times, crashing out my parents until I get myself together." I think that would impress her more, because then they would both acknowledge that this is not ideal. This is so temporary. Just trying to get back on my feet and I'm out of here. She'd be so much more impressed by that than him telling her, "I could live on my own. I'm able to live on my own, but I choose to live with to live in my parents' basement, not with his parents, but in his, heaven forbid we say he's living with his parents. Heaven forbid we think that, his mom might be coming down there to wash his, do his laundry and fold his clothes. Heaven forbid we should think that, he's not paying rent there. He's paying rent. He's 1,000% independent. Nobody comes down there only to wash their own laundry. Nobody checks on him. It's his own private space." But the girl doesn't care. She could care less. Moving on to Imm and Eketchi. So before they get to his place, he's constantly warning her, "Oh, I don't, my place isn't that great. It's horrible. It's really meager." And he's only saying all these things because he knows that his place is okay. He just wants to downplay it before she sees it, so that when she does see it, she can be like, "Oh my God, Ketchy, this place is so nice." He's just fishing for compliments. You know how it goes. So he's talking down about his place. So he finally, they finally get there, and she's like, whatever. She wasn't like totally impressed. It's just a regular apartment. So let me see. He just wanted her to lower her expectations so that she could be impressed with what she actually saw. But it was no big deal to her. He played, he has his music instrument there. He had a keyboard, I think. He had a bass. He started playing the bass. Y'all, there's just nothing going on between Imm and Eketchi. I think Eketchi once again wanted her to be knocked off her feet by where he lived. Not necessarily because of it being grand or anything like that, but he downplayed it so much. It's just a regular apartment, but he downplayed it so much that he wanted the regular to impress her. He wanted the basic to impress her. But she was like, yeah, whatever. This is your place. It's nice. Just like when he wrote her that poem, and her reaction wasn't as it wasn't what he expected. He wanted her to cry. He wanted her to, like, just like fall off her feet and just be flabbergasted and, hyperventilate over his poem. And so when her and her bridesmaids were like, oh, he's got bars, and they're kind of giggling and stuff, he didn't like that. He expected a much grander reaction to his words. So Ikechi is constantly like looking for validation and looking for admiration. So they go to her apartment. Her apartment was the best out of everybody on this show. She's got the money. She knows what to do with the money. It was a nice place. It was a two-story. I don't know if it was a townhouse or an apartment. I don't know what it was. It was 2 stories. It was beautifully decorated, very spacious, very because Imm carries herself in a certain way. It was a nice place. It was beautiful. It was really nice. So you could tell that your boy Ketchy was impressed, but you could tell that he was kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to say he was jealous, but I mean, he was like kind of throwing jabs, here and there. And I don't know. I felt like he was kind of like, oh, okay, so she got it like that. I kind of feel like he was jealous. Imm tells us that the men in her past have been intimidated by her career and her lifestyle, and Ikechi falls into that category. So Dr. Pepper and Pastor Cal come over to see them. There's no chemistry between these two people. I don't know how many times I'm going to end up saying that, but I don't know how else to say it. There's just nothing happening between Imm and Eketchi. Nothing. Dr. Pepper asked if about future goals for their marriage. Have they talked about goals for their marriage? And no, they haven't, because deep down inside, neither one of them really sees a future with the other. They said that no, we haven't talked about, future goals for our marriage, but we have talked about individual goals. Okay, yeah, everybody's got individual goals, but y'all are married now. What is the future for y'all as a couple, as a married couple? They have talked about children, and I think that's the extent of it. Nothing more other than that. So they keep referring to each other as husband and wife. And it kind of bothers me that they do that, because they barely know each other. And well, she says it more than he does, but they always refer to each other as husband and wife, like, oh, my husband here, or husband, can you blah, blah, blah. They do that. I think they do that because those are just labels. And I don't think they really see each other as like actual people. I don't think that they're really digging to get to know each other and to really get closer as a couple. And I think that's why they do that. And I think even referring to each other by their names is kind of like making this person real to them. I think they're very surface with their relationship. And so they constantly use these labels with one another because it's how they can keep it surface. They're not really digging deep to get to really know each other and to get closer. He said, which really shocked me, Eketchi says that Imm is mechanical. She's very mechanical. He wants her to loosen up, be more relaxed, be more flowing. What? Eketchi. She's not mechanical. Imm has a lot of life in her. Unfortunately, you're zapping it out. The life is being drained from her from dealing with him. But she has a lot of life in her. She's not mechanical by far. Mechanical is Michelle. Okay, we've seen people on this show who are just going through the motions, who have no feelings, no emotions, no reactions, no nothing. We've seen people like that. Imm is not that. She has a lot of life. She's very animated. She's very vibrant. She's funny. She's all of that. But the problem is, this relationship is dulling her. It's like really like removing her shine. It's dimming her shine. And it's draining her. It's absolutely draining her. And also, when they talked about it, Pastor Cal talked about, like he noticed how they were like there was space in between them when they were sitting on the couch. They weren't sitting physically close. And so he mentioned that. He was like, y'all don't seem to be really close. Have y'all moved in together? Are y'all sleeping in the same bedroom, in the same bed? Because it looks like they're very distant. And they're like, yeah, we're living together. Yeah, we're blah, 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 blah. But it doesn't look like it. Y'all, they don't look like a married couple at all. At all. To the point where Pastor Cal had to question, are y'all living in here together? So they talk about Eketchi's 9 p.m. bedtime. He says by 9 o'clock he's in bed because he has to get up in the morning to go work out. And that leaves like no time, no opportunity for them to do anything else because he shuts down at 9 o'clock. And so the experts made a comment about that, like what's going on, intimacy wise. Is anything on and popping over there? They said that they've kissed. They do kiss. No, they don't kiss. Did they mention kissing? I don't think they did. So Dr. Pepper was talking about, their intimacy and letting them know that they need to try to work on that. Not necessarily doing the whole shebang, but y'all need to work on getting physically and emotionally closer. And as we're talking about, them being more intimate with one another, Imm is side eyeing Eketchi because Imm is there. Okay, she's there. We saw in Cancun that she does want to get physically closer to him. She does want to get the intimacy rolling. She wants to get it started, in some capacity. So when they're talking about intimacy, she's looking at him and he's looking at the damn experts. He won't even make eye contact with her. When Pastor Cal talked about them being physically distant, they reached out and held each other's hand, but only after they were like prompted to do that. It wasn't even like a natural thing for them to do that. So Eketchi is not interested in Imm. I think Imm was open to Eketchi, but as he continues to shut her down, she's beginning to distance herself from him. And I think she's also beginning to shut him down. So I think deep down inside, they know. Well, he's known since day one because he ain't here looking for a wife. I believe Eketchi is here for clout. He's here to gain popularity. He's on his own journey. Eketchi's on his own Eketchi journey to get famous, to make money, to do whatever he's trying to do. Imm is here. She was here for a husband, but unfortunately, they matched her with a clout chaser, so that's not going to be happening. And so I think both of them realize this isn't going to work out, but we're going to stick it through for however long we can to get these checks. But I don't think Imm obviously doesn't need the money. She's here, I think, for really legit reasons. But it's a difficult decision to decide that you want to end the process early. So we'll see what happens with that. Now they did show us a little teaser for next week's episode where they have their what do you call it? Home welcome home party or something. What do they call that? A homecoming? Not a homecoming, whatever it is, when you get a new home and you invite everybody over. It escapes me right now. They show that part. They showed us a teaser of that where he tells the group, the family, the friends, that he considers Eketchi to be aggressive. Now, I'm not going to jump on that right now because I need to see the context of that conversation before I pass judgment on Eketchi. But from what they showed us, that was foul. That was wrong. But I don't want to go too much in it because we haven't seen the actual episode and we need to get a better context of how that was said and why that was said. Moving on to Camille and Thomas. So they go to Thomas's apartment. Of course, it's very representative of Thomas. It's very neat, very organized. She was impressed. She liked it because there was some style to the apartment. It wasn't just basic. Well, no, that was Madison and Allen. Was she impressed by his? It was neat. That's all I remember. Her saying that it was really neat, really organized. His closet was really organized. So she ran. She practically ran to his closet to see, if the swag was hiding in the closet, to see what kind of clothes he had, what kind of wardrobe, what kind of style does he have. And she really wasn't that impressed. She was impressed with the shoes because he had like a whole bunch of J's. So she was impressed with his shoe game, but not really with his clothes because she's still struggling with him not having swag. And it's getting on my damn nerves hearing Camille talk about the fact that Thomas doesn't have any swag. Um, because she doesn't either. Okay, she doesn't either. I don't see her popping off with like elite style and fashion, and really bring in the culture. I mean, the way that she talks about him not having swag, him not being really smooth and all this and that, it sounds extremely immature. This is a man who's so far from what we've seen, from what they've shown us, because we don't know him, in and out, up and down. All we know is what they've presented to us. And from what they've shown us on television, he seems like a good man, and I wish that she would just, unless she's just not into him at all, period, and she's using this swag thing as an excuse, but he's a good man. And he's really trying to make this work with her. But anyways, let's move on. Dr. Pepper and Pastor Cal come over, and Camille brings up Thomas's background, how, basically, she thinks that he's not black enough. He went to a white school, lived in a white neighborhood, so on and so forth. And it's like, you can't judge someone else's blackness. Like, did you give him a black history test and he failed miserably? Like, what makes you the person to judge whether someone else is black enough? And at the after party, I loved it when Thomas said that black culture is American culture. American culture is black culture. We black people play a huge part in making this country what it is in so many ways. And so socially, economically, culturally. And so he was like, he said at the after party that he gets really offended by constantly hearing her say that he doesn't have enough swag and that he's not black enough and his background this and his background that, because he considers himself a black man. He says, I present myself as a black man. The world sees me as a black man. Okay, and he talked about how black culture comes in so many different forms, so many different variety. So just because it's not the black that she's used to, and I don't know what kind of black that is, but to me, he doesn't come off as someone who's not aware of being black, who doesn't like being black, who doesn't know black history or black culture. He doesn't come across like that to me at all. And she talks about this as if she's walking around in a dashiki and a kente cloth, and having the black power fist, afro pigs hanging from her ears or something. And she's not like that. Her style matches his style. Her style is not Afrocentric. Her style isn't particularly, super urban. Her style isn't like, you look at her and you're like, oh my God, this woman really understands. No, her style matches his style. When they were sitting there with uh Dr. Pepper and Pastor Cal, she had on this plain, oversized gray t-shirt and some jeans or some shorts or something. I don't know. She acts like she's walking around like she's Mother Africa, and he's, denying being black. Let's move on. So she talks about his damn background. She does touch on their progress. So it was Camille and Thomas that talked about kissing on the lips. She says that they do peck on the lips, nothing too, they're not doing too much, but they do peck on the lips. They greet each other hi and bye. But she says what's missing is his swag factor. I would be ashamed as a grown woman talking to another adult, talking about how my partner doesn't have enough swag. I would feel so ashamed. That's something that maybe like a 15-year-old would say, or a 13-year-old would say. I would be so ashamed to talk about how, oh, my partner doesn't have enough swag and he's not smooth enough, because it just sounds immature, especially when you have a very mature man who knows who he is, who understands who he is, and you're constantly casting doubt on that, as if you would know, like you've known this man his whole entire life and you can figure him out. You know nothing about Thomas. So she says that she doesn't, also something else that bothers her is that she doesn't like his jokes. And she talked about how he was talking about flossing his teeth and he was flossing so hard or something. Oh, he talked about how he got a water pick. So he uses a water pick instead of the floss, because when he would floss, blood would be, spewing everywhere. And that grossed her out, as it would anybody. Okay, that was disgusting. So she doesn't like his jokes, and she says she wants him to be more, basically she just wants him to be more smooth and less corny. I don't have an issue with him being corny. I don't have an issue with his lack of swag or whatever you call it, but it's bothering the hell out of her. So she wants also to change his style. She wants him to change his style. She wants him to work on his style, his fashion. But girl, work on yours first. Work on yours first. If you want him to be so elevated, elevate yours first so y'all could match, because you don't want him to be so elevated and make him so fashionable and you're still walking around in your dowdy clothes. And I hate saying this about Camille, because Camille and Thomas were my favorite couple, but I'm sick and tired of this woman talking about this man like this. Pastor Cal tells Camille that there may be things about her that he might want to change. So I'm like, go ahead, Pastor Cal. Yes, there may be things about her that he doesn't like. Now, he didn't voice them, because he knows better. He didn't voice them. But yeah, you're talking about, oh, he needs to change this and he's not this and he's not that. But what about you? Maybe he doesn't, there's things about you that he doesn't really care for that he would like to change. And Pastor Cal encourages him, to vocalize that. Don't let her always be, putting you down and pointing out your deficiencies. Vocalize the things that bother you about her. Thomas tells her. So after Pastor Cal tells him that, after Pastor Cal says, if there's things about her that you don't like, bring them up, talk about them. He says to Camille, well, if there's anything that about me that bothers you, just don't ever hesitate to tell me. Thomas, we know that. You said that to her before. You've already told her, if there's anything about me that you don't like, call me out on it. Pastor Cal is telling you to call her out on her mess. Later on, Camille meets with her sister. She says that Thomas is really sweet, really genuine, but she feels like she's in an interracial relationship. Basically, like she feels like a black woman married to a white man. Thomas doesn't come across to me like that at all. He doesn't come across as a black man parading as a white man, or a black man who thinks he's white or who wants to present to the world that he's white. He doesn't come across like that to me at all. The only thing that bothers me about Thomas is that he talks really slow. I need him to kind of speed it up. But other than that, he doesn't come across as someone who's whitewashed and wants to present as a Caucasian man. But she says she feels like in an interracial relationship, which to me that was like a kick in the gut. And that's the clip that they showed him at the after party. Her telling her sister that she feels like she's in an interracial relationship. And that's when Thomas said that offends him. He's offended by her constantly questioning his blackness. So she talks about his lack of swag, his lack of smoothness to her sister. She loves how he gave her the green light to talk about what she doesn't like about him. I bet she does like that. Yeah, she pointed that out to her sister. I like the fact that he's comfortable with me telling him, me criticizing him. He creates a safe space for me to criticize him, because I've never had that before. Because anybody else in their right mind would not put up with that. But Thomas is trying so hard to appease her that he's allowing her to be very critical of him. But when she is critical, when she does criticize him on his lack of blackness, quote unquote, he gets offended. He gets offended. And I wish that he would shut her the hell up once and for all and be like, you know what, Camille, this is the last time that you're going to question my blackness, because let me tell you a thing or two. And then go into how proud he is to be a black man. Now, at the after party, he did say that Camille is the type of woman that he normally dates. First of all, he said that he's dated, a variety of women from all different backgrounds, all different races. But in college, he was more drawn to light-skinned black women. And so she does fit that profile, right? So Keisha Napoleon joked with him and was like, oh, what about us chocolate sisters? No time for us. And she was just joking. He was like, no, I love them all. So, um, you want what you want, and it is what it is. But he does want, at least he wants a black woman. He wasn't up there, not like that it's wrong to want someone who's not black, but because of the fact that she's constantly picking on him for not being black enough, what would she have to say about David, who specifically wanted a white woman? David didn't even want a black woman. Thomas did. And she gives him no credit for that. Madison and Allen. So after Madison left, when they arrived at their apartment for their first night together, she took off. she had texted him and said that she wasn't going to come home at all. So not only did she leave that first night to go have drinks, she didn't even come home. She said that she spent the night at a friend's house. So she tells him that that's her thing. She likes to spend the night at her friend's house. And I'm like, okay, you're a grown woman now and you are a wife. So hopefully the sleepovers are over and you're going to stay with your husband, because you're not 12. So sleepover should not be that important to you as a grown woman. And now that you have a husband, you'll slow down on that. Allen says that he was okay with it and that as long as she's not sleeping over at a guy's house, he's cool with it. Moving on. They go to Allen's apartment. She was impressed with his apartment. It was clean. It was organized. It was decorated really well. There was a sense of style to it. So she liked his apartment a lot. It was a lot better than what she expected. I don't know what she expected, but it was a lot better than what she expected. Dr. Pepper and Pastor Cal come over. Madison says that she was looking forward to them moving into their apartment together. You could have fooled us because the first chance you got, you left, you took off. But they never talked about that with the experts. And I was really upset with Allen that he didn't bring up the fact that she left on their first night together. I don't think they talked about that because I know that Pastor Cal and Dr. Pepper would have gotten into her if that was mentioned. So that was not mentioned. I don't know why he wanted to protect her. Madison struggles with romance and chemistry. And I'm like, okay, how you're struggling with, well, he's probably struggling with romance and chemistry too, because you're not there. Okay. You're not there. They talk about changing for each other, because he talked about how he's going to the gym a lot more now. And hopefully he's doing it really for himself and not for her, because Madison, what I feel like is going to happen, he's going to change himself so much for her. And then she's going to end up leaving him. She's going to end up breaking his heart. So I need him to kind of slow down on trying to impress Madison and make sure that he's doing things also for himself, because Madison is not interested. Allen has, okay, so they gave all of the right fake answers to the experts, because Dr. Pepper and Pastor Cal really didn't go in on them too much, because they gave all the perfect fake answers. They held hands, they showed physical closeness. I'm just wondering why they did not mention the fact that Madison left the first night that they had with each other at their apartment. Allen made dinner that night. It was really good. They talked in the after party that he's a really good cook. Both Madison and Thomas talked about how great of a cook Allen is, because Madison ate that food up. She was practically licking her plate, okay, when she was done. And that's like the one thing that she really praises him about, was how much of a good girl this man cooks. He cooks for you. He's easy on the eyes. He has that, I love his voice. He has that beautiful deep voice. He's willing to work out, but he's not like in bad shape, but he's willing to work out. He cares about, he keeps himself together. You might not like his style, but he has some style. He has a style. Okay. He puts thought into what he wears. You don't like what he wears. You don't like the outcome of what his thoughts are, of what he puts together, but he puts thought into it. He's not one of those guys that just throws on a hoodie and some shorts and he's done. He puts thought into it. I'm like, what more could you possibly want, Madison? And I don't want to believe that Madison cheated on Allen with David. I don't want to believe that. I don't think that's true. I find that very hard to believe. But if that's the case, how stupid will she look that she's given up a man who is independent, successful, has his own home, for a guy who is constantly sporting a side pony, lives in his parents' basement, and walks around in wife beaters and shorts all day. Moving on. Carla and Juan. Doesn't Juan look like a Disney princess? I mean, a Disney prince. His features are so chiseled. His facial features are so chiseled and almost like perfect. He looks like a Disney prince. So, we're not going to be able to see Carla's apartment because her lease had just ended. All of her stuff is in storage, and her plan is for them to make it to decision date and say yes, so she can move in with Juan. They go to Juan's apartment. And she said it was too cluttered for her. And I think his cousin was living there. He lives with his cousin, I think. There was some guy there. I think that was his cousin. So to her, the place was too cluttered. She really didn't care for it. But she's talking about, she asked him, so, when I move my stuff in, and he kind of was like, huh? What? What? He was not expecting that. So Carla plans on moving in with him. I think that Carla, oh, I don't know. I think that Carla, I don't think Carla, I don't know. Anyway, she's plans on moving in with him. They meet with Dr. Pepper and Pastor Cal. They talk about Carla not feeling like a priority to him because of what he said in Cancun when he was hanging out with David. He was having so much fun with David that he forgot that Carla was even there. That's still bothering her. And they talk about that. And he knows it was wrong. He apologized. He should have said it differently. He didn't mean it the way it came out, so on and so on. And I hope that we're going to put this to rest. Carla, please let it go. He apologized. It was wrong. He was wrong. Everybody knows he was wrong for saying that. You should have been his priority. He should not have spent a second with any other human. He was supposed to be with you the whole entire time. We get it. We understand. We agree with you, Carla. He was wrong. He's apologized. Let's move on. He talks about how she clams up when she's not happy. She's not very communicative when she's upset. And he needs her to communicate so he can know how to fix it. He doesn't want her to completely shut down when she's unhappy about something. Pastor Kyle notices how they're not very physically close. They were hot and heavy for each other in the beginning. Now that has completely died down. Juan says, "Yes, I have stepped back when it comes to the physical aspect of our relationship. I've definitely stepped back on that because he said he doesn't want that to cloud his judgment because it has done that in the past. When the physical happens too soon, his judgment gets clouded and bad things happen. So he wants to keep a clear head. So he's trying to, keep it very PG." And that was the end of that. Then we had the after party. Let me see if there's anything worth mentioning in the after party. There was this, their guest, the guest for the after party was this woman named Simone from Entertainment Tonight. That woman was gorgeous. My God. She was beautiful. Lord have mercy. She was really pretty. And she had a lot of good advice to give. She had really good insight. Keisha Napoleon asked, so they had Juan and Madison first. Keisha Napoleon asked Madison, how can she leave on her very first night? And she said that she was feeling really overwhelmed with the process. Girl, shut up. Shut the hell up. We know what overwhelmed means on Married at First Sight. It means I'm not happy with this guy. I don't want to be here. I want to go home. That's what overwhelmed means. She said that she had been crying since day one. She's been crying and overwhelmed and whatever, and she needed just to get away. I hope what she's saying is true, that she was hanging out with friends and not hanging out with David or whoever she might be. I don't even know if she's the one that cheated. I hope that what she told him was the truth. But as time goes on, it seems like she's becoming very distant from him. Instead of getting closer, she's getting more distant from him. And it looks like she is the one that cheated. I pray to God that it wasn't with David because that doesn't make any sense to me. Juan was surprised about Carla living out of a storage unit. He was really shocked about that. What did he say? I forgot what he said, but it kind of seemed like he was surprised that she's putting all of her eggs in one basket, as far as assuming that whoever she was matched with was going to work out and then she was going to move in with her husband. So to him, that was kind of shocking. It's like, you still have to go through the process and it may not work out and we may say no on decision day. So what you going to do then? After that, they brought out Michelle and Thomas. Keisha Napoleon asked Michelle, what do you do when the cameras are not there? How do y'all get along when production isn't there? And Michelle said that we do coexist well. She says, I wake up to go to work and he wakes up to go work out. And I'm like, so when does he work? Does he work from home or does he work at night? When does he go to work? They show a scene of Camille talking to her sister, telling her sister that she felt like she was in an interracial relationship. And we already talked about this. And this is when Thomas said that he felt really offended. And then they showed the scene of David's basement. Michelle said that it was worse than what she thought it was going to be. She said that it was really frat boyish. It didn't look like a grown 36-year-old man lived there. David says he's independent, has all this money, has all these careers. That's what he says. Those are the words that are coming out of his mouth. But he lives as if his parents are taking care of him. He lives as if he is a true mama's boy in every sense of the word. He lives as if he goes upstairs every night for dinner. His mom does his laundry every week, washes, dries, folds, hangs all of his clothes for him. That's what it's giving. That is what my eyeballs are perceiving. Okay. But he's saying that it's not like that. He's independent. His family doesn't bother him. They don't, he doesn't bother them. They're very independent of each other. He's got money. He's got careers. So we'll see how it goes. I like David. I like David a lot. Personality wise, I like him. There's nothing wrong with him personality wise, right? There's nothing wrong with him. Michelle, her personality, it's an acquired taste. She's a lot. She's elitist. She's snobby. She looks down on him. She's very rude to him. Um, she's very snarky. She has a very snarky way of talking to him. I don't like her. I understand her issues with him, but the way that she is saying things to him and the way that she's presenting herself to him, her thoughts, her opinions is in a really rude and trashy way. I understand her issues with him, but I wish that she could present them in a much more polite way. And I also want her to really give this process a chance. That's all. That's all, and that's it. I could have said so much more, but I forgot. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, don't forget to rate the video if you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later.